for a half an hour.
Yeah.
That would be a long time, right?
Yeah, that'd be kind of weird, actually. But
probably about 5 minutes, I would
I'll say
say.
the minimum. Like, what's a minimum?
And I like to, we go on our, this is a habit. We go on our evening, which I didn't have written down.
Thriving in Tandem. It's a podcast for you, the married entrepreneur that wants to win in business and marriage at the same time.
Welcome to Thriving in Tandem.
Hello, Thriving in Tandem family. Welcome to this week's episode.
Hi, guys.
so usually she just kind of rolls into that. Hello,
I do,
right? But she pauses. So for those of you that aren't on YouTube, she paused so long I had to point the finger at her.
Because I wasn't sure if you were done or not, and so I didn't want to interrupt you.
Well, usually that's not an issue. You just interrupt.
I know, but I decided let's mix it up a little. You guys are really got him off guard now.
So today you're going to be nice. All right. Well, so today's episode, 5 daily habits on having better work-life balance for busy entrepreneurs. We talk about this a lot as far as, that's kind of the premise of the show, how to have better work-life balance. And I think we mentioned throughout the 4 years we've been doing this thing, some of those tactics and stuff that we do. But I think we thought, how about we dedicate this episode on what are our 5 daily habits? Because I don't think we've really gotten into it. So I thought, let's dedicate the show for that. So you're going to hear my habits and then my wife's habits. And some of them intersect because they do involve the two of us, but then obviously some of them are different because there's differences. So we are going to talk about how, as busy entrepreneurs, how to create some daily habits, because we can talk about, what work-life balance looks like, but until we start to actively do those things, create the actions to the plan or to the vision, until we put some daily action steps into it, that will never get there, right? If we just keep talking about it and hope it's going to materialize because maybe our business hit a certain milestone, we, made that first, million, or, made that first big sale, or whatever the case may be, it doesn't just materialize. You really have to start actively doing something. And to have better work-life balance, your business situation doesn't even have to improve, although we want it to, right? The business situation doesn't even have to improve in order for you to have work-life balance today.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to talk about the practical steps, the practical things that we do. And it's going to be, before, as we lay out like the things that we do, before you just start discounting everything right off the bat, right? You've got, now, of course, these are going to be different for you, of course, but there's going to be probably some similarities, or I think the principles that we talk about should be the same for you, but the details in which and the things that you do specifically within those principles might be different.
Yeah, and let's just say we're not looking for perfectionism here. We're just trying to get into a habit of something that we do all the time when we can, which is the majority of the time.
Yeah, and so achieving work-life balance is really, if you really break it down and you look at the things that we're doing and what you should be doing, they're actually very simple to do. Anybody can do it. It's actually physically, you can do this, but we know, just because based on our own experience and experience with our clients, that it's more mentally and emotionally difficult to practice work-life balance, right? So it's interesting. There's no physical barrier. There's nothing that physically is preventing you from doing it, but the mind and the emotions are going to tug at you, right? So the first thing, in order for you and your spouse to achieve better work-life balance, is you first need to define what that means for you. And so we talk about, in general, work-life balance means about how can you spend the quality of time in both the business and the marriage and the family. And what does quality time mean to you? So, honey, what does quality time mean for you?
Oh, honey, just sitting down, looking to my eyes and asking how my day was.
Okay, and how long should that take?
Oh, half an hour.
On a good day.
He doesn't have to look into my eyes for a half an hour.
Yeah.
That would be a long time, right?
Yeah, that would be kind of weird, actually. But
probably about 5 minutes, I would say.
I'll say the minimum. Like, what's a minimum?
And I like to, we go on our, this is a habit. We go on our evening, which I didn't have written down ahead of time. We go on our evening walk with the dog at nighttime, right before dinner. And so, I'll ask then, how was your day?
Yeah. So, quality time, that's what that looks
And
like
that's a
for.
two for you guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt because I'm getting exercise, taking the dog out, and asking how his day was.
Yeah. So that's our time to connect, even though it's not on the list, but obviously it's something we do. First definition, right? So you heard from Kaylee, here's what you'd like, and it doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of time, although, we want to give as much time as we can. But we also want to, for you as you're listening, think about, on your busiest season in the business, and we all have them, there's ups and downs, what can you do to still maintain a sense of balance, sense of peace and calm? Because sometimes when we're just grinding it out, we we get stressed, right? We get stressed, and sometimes we get almost borderline overwhelmed. You get high anxiety, all that stuff. So, having some of these daily habits to have better work-life balance means that you're going to be more at peace as you're doing a lot of stuff, right? So, defining what that means, first of all, you and your spouse should sit down and talk about what does work-life balance mean for the two of you individually and then jointly. And then as you're defining what that looks like, then you can say, okay, what are some of the daily habits I can do to start to have that? And so just like how I just talked about, we want to make sure no matter how busy life gets or how busy the business gets, that we are still operating in a sense of peace. Because when you're doing that, you're much more higher performing, and you have a more mental clarity.
People want to be around you.
And we're more likable. Yes, exactly. And so for me, number one, the morning is very important. And I'm sure because you're listening to a podcast, I'm sure you've heard things about how you start the day really sets the tone. And it couldn't be more important. And I really didn't have a good morning routine until probably about 3-4 years ago, maybe a little bit more. I think, when I was in corporate, I would just do what a lot of people do. Just wake up, maybe grab a little bit of something to eat or whatever, and start checking emails and stuff like that and get ready, right? And get ready for the day. And it really wasn't until I left that and do the business where I started developing more of a habit, more of a morning routine. And it absolutely does make a difference of how the day goes. And so for me, that morning, number one, that morning routine encompasses a few things. So you're going to get a bunch of stuff all in step number one for me. So quiet time, of course. And there's a lot of data. I don't know, I forgot what episode we talked about this, but there's a lot of data on starting slow and research, both health benefits and spiritual, mental, emotional, physical benefits on starting slow. Rushing in the day creates a lot of pressure on your heart. I mean, literally, physically. So that's why the most common time for a heart attack is between 6 and 9 a.m. People just tend to rush into the day, and it creates, and physiologically it's shown that when you start to rush into the day and you get more really active really quick, it creates much more stress on the heart than it really needs. And so just from that practical standpoint, that quiet time is very important for me. And so I get up, I sit down in my easy chair and I read, and then I pray.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I take a little bit nap, then wake up, and then Kaylee and I pray, and that's our time to connect first thing in the morning. And then I take the dog for a walk, a nice walk, and then I come back and I have my smoothie, and then I get started. So that's my morning routine. And so that checks a lot of boxes, because we talk about, what can you do for yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to take care of yourself. Because if you don't, any one of those areas are weak, it's like a weak link in the chain, then everything's going to go to put. We're just talking to one of the young men I was mentoring this morning, one of you guys in my young entrepreneurs mentor group. And he talked about how, he noticed once he started just praying in the morning, how it really settled him down. And he's in a busy period of his business right now, and they're getting ready for a big project. There's a big deadline, and so he's getting stressed and all that. And he was just much more settled down in this last week or so since he started doing that. And he just really noticed the benefit, not just how he felt, but also now he has a clearer head and clarity. He's making better decisions, he feels. And so there's so much benefit from starting slowly and quietly and all that. So that's my number one, honey. What about you?
Well, some of those, a lot of those overlap with mine as well. I have my quiet time, and then I pray. I love to journal. So I'll sit down in a journal about what's going on in my life. Uh, it helps relieve some of the anxiety if there's something anxious going on. It helps me have peace about what exactly it is because I can kind of map it out. And I also like to put things that I'm thankful for on there. The gratitude. Oh my gosh, what a great way to start your day with gratitude. And I don't write it down, but I'm in bed and I go through my mind of all the things that I was thankful for the day. And I remember I like to put our big and small wins in there as well. I remember I was thinking about it today on our trip, our road trip, our book tour. I tried to journal every day about our trip, where we're at, what I was feeling, what we were seeing, and all the exciting things. And so I want to go back and look at that again.
Oh, sure.
And that's part of why I wrote it down, is because I want to go back. And I love to go back in my journal and read things about, oh, yeah, that did happen. That was a huge thing that I was praying for, the answer to prayer. And it's just nice to be able to reflect on stuff like that with journaling. I also meditate, which is great for me. I do a lot of, during my meditation, like breathing.
Are you saying all five right now?
Oh, should I not? All right. I guess I got caught off, you guys.
Just, you remember, if you heard, I said, number one for me is this.
Well, mine aren't in any particular order. Just order of
the
day.
Order. Just we'll go one at a time.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Sorry, you guys. I just...
So that's okay. She just can't wait. It's like Christmas for her. She can't wait. She'll as soon as I put a gift down, what is it? No, I'm not going to tell you.
And he won't either. He won't budge.
And before I go on to my number two.
Okay, sorry. I got out of order, you guys. God forbid.
It wasn't out of order. You just went through everything.
No, I didn't finish mine, but go ahead.
What? Are you want to say all five? Is that what you're saying?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, but before I go on, I'm surprised you didn't say something.
About me going through my whole list?
No.
Say something about what?
We match.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say that, but he gets upset. This is the joke, you guys. And I didn't get us off track on this one. It was him, because usually it's me. So we go to Hawaii because Robert's from Hawaii, and we see muumuus and matching shirts. So the joke was, I tell Robert, honey, let's get a muumuu and a matching shirt. He's like, no. And then you see couples that retire and they wear matching jackets. And so I say, and we're not retirement age by any means. I say, honey, let's get a matching jacket. He flips out, you guys. And so if you're not watching us on, or if you can't see
YouTube.
us on YouTube, we are wearing blue, both of us.
Yeah. So if you really want to see how we look, then go to YouTube, Thriving in Tandem. So my number two, though, is taking a break, even as short as 5 minutes every 90 minutes. And so there's a lot of performance research and physiological research around taking breaks roughly every 90 minutes because our body operates on a roughly 90-minute circadian rhythm. And you may have heard that for sleep. And if you haven't, let me break it down for you. So our body runs into, peaks and valleys of energy roughly every 90 minutes. It's slightly different for everybody. But like I started doing that for sleep. And I remember hearing a talk in my corporate job from this organization called Energy Project. And he talked about energy management and not so much about time management, but energy management. And so when you stay at higher levels of energy throughout the day, then you're better performers. So it's not, and you'll be able to achieve more in a shorter period of time. So breaks are huge. And so, when it comes to circadian rhythm, like in sleep, for example, you want to wake up at the end of a 90-minute cycle as opposed to in the middle of that. So in other words, it's better to get 3 hours of sleep than 4, right? Because 3 hours is at the end of a second 90-minute cycle. So, but we want you to get more than that. So 7.5 hours of sleep is an end of a 90-minute cycle, and it's better than 8 hours. So how you can start and so have you ever, if without an alarm clock, you will wake up normally, right? And have you ever
If you go to bed early enough so that you can get up at the time that you want
yeah,
to.
have you ever just naturally you wake up and you feel pretty good, but then you look at the clock and you say, "Oh, I got another half hour or another hour," so you go back to bed, and you wake up at the end of that at the end at that time, whether it's the alarm clock or whatever, and you feel worse than if you would have just woken up when you just naturally woke up, right? So that means that you probably woke up naturally at the end of a 90-minute cycle. And that kind of just shows you, I think we've all experienced that. So I remember when I heard this, oh, that makes sense. And so now my sleep, I'm either going to get 7.5 hours or 9 hours. I'm not going to get 8. So I'd rather just get 7.5. So waking up at 7.5 hours of sleep, feel great. 8 hours, you kind of a little groggy. Right. So anyways, but it also works when you're awake. We also operate on that roughly 90-minute cycle, even while we're awake. Our energy basically peaks and valleys. And so roughly every 90 minutes, you want to get up off of whatever you're doing. So for me, I'm at my desk working. If you have more of an active business, like whether it's construction or you're in retail or something like that, still take a break from whatever you're doing work-wise and do something different that's hopefully not work-related. And it could be just as simple as going for a quick little walk, going outside. Changing scenery is great, but definitely you want to change. You kind of want to take some kind of break, roughly every 90 minutes. And that helps maintains your energy at a high level so you can perform better for a longer period of time.
And that's good too if you get your body moving. Because if you've been sitting for a long time, that can not be good for you.
Yeah. So,
you said, so go on a little walk.
Yeah. Instead of just working right through, which a lot of people do, not even taking a break for lunch or all that stuff, people kind of use that as a badge of honor. We're just going to work through, but it's not productive for you, and it's not good for your health. It's not both, mentally, emotionally, physically.
I don't think it's good for your digestion either.
No. So breaks every 90 minutes for me. That's number 2.
Okay. So can I go to my next one?
Sure. What are you on for?
Did I already say meditation?
I don't know.
Meditation and breathing, because that really brings down your stress level and the anxiety, and it just makes your head really clear and more creative, and you're just in that peaceful place. It's a good way to start your day. I do it sometimes mid-morning when I need a little break, a little pick me up, and it works great just to clear everything out.
That's good. Mind. That's good. For me, number 3 is I don't quite turn off the phone, but turn the volume off, or turn the phone off in the sense where at least, so I don't hear it. So turn the notifications off or turn the volume off. So when I need to get some deeper work done, I put the phone away or something so that I don't get distracted by the notifications, the pings and all the texts or whatever, right? Or even a phone call. And so not being attached to the phone, I think is huge for maintaining work-life balance, because one, you get work done, but it's also more peaceful too. I think what you see is, whenever you're kind of in the middle of something, you pick up your phone and all that, it's just very distracting.
Well, it's ineffective because you keep getting interrupted.
Yeah. And in fact, I started on Saturdays is to just don't check social media. Basically, I only have the phone for if I go out, just in case Kaylee calls or I need to talk to you, whatever. Or if I'm expecting something important, which rarely happens. So in general, I just don't check the phone. It's a no electronics day. So it's not just the phone, but it's electronics. I don't use the computer, all that kind of stuff. Although I've been kind of slipping lately, I've noticed, so I got to get back on that. But when the first time I did that, the first Saturday I did that, when I didn't check social media, wasn't on the computer, on all that when, during the day you felt a little like you're like kind of like you're going through withdrawals. You kind of get the cold sweats. You feel like you're missing out on something, whatever. But by the end of that first day, I remember just I felt so much more refreshed, and because you don't have those constant distractions or even thinking about it. So taking some kind of Sabbath from your phone, electronics, and all that, taking a full day away from all that stuff, all those things, makes you feel much more rested when you're supposed to be resting, right? Saturdays or Sundays, or for some people, depending on the kind of business, might be a different day of the week that you take off. But when you really disconnect from electronics, you're much more rested, and you're also much more present, because sometimes you might find yourself whether at a kid's ball game or something, you just naturally pick up the phone and start checking stuff. And then you're not even connecting with why you're there,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, what did parents do before cell phones when they were at kids' games, right? My dad didn't have that, so he had to watch the game. so, so, right? I mean, and you know what? Kids pick up on that stuff because they'll look over in the stands.
Yeah, the first person they're looking for is their parents to see
Yeah.
if people are watching.
And they'll look
them.
over the stands, and if you're on the phone, what is that? What signal does that tell them?
Mm-hmm.
And so disconnect, have a day of just disconnecting from electronics. It's huge. You'll be much more refreshed, much more rested, much more energized, and also much more connected to your family. And so that's number 3 for me.
I'd say for me, exercise.
Yep.
Usually you're walking the dog in the morning and I'm exercising at home, and then I stretch. Oh my gosh, stretching, you guys, if you don't stretch, it's like, it feels so good afterwards. And it really keeps your body moving more freely. And as we get older, we need to be flexible, right?
Yeah.
And
so what did our neighbor say? She's talked about her sciatica.
oh, my neighbor, I was talking to her down by our mailbox, and she says, "Oh, my sciatica is really bothering me." And I said, "Oh, I've had issues with that." I said, "Do you want to know what my secret was?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Stretching." And she's like, because she goes, "Oh, I'm in so much pain, I can barely walk." She goes, "Oh, stretching. Yeah, I know. I'm too lazy for that." And I said, I was talking about myself. I said, "Yeah, I was in so much pain that I would do anything at that point, and I just wanted to be able to walk." So that's really helped me. And sometimes,
well, the funny thing about that is, think about that. She says, "I'm too lazy to stretch."
mm-hmm.
Meaning, I'm too lazy to feel better. I just want a pill.
Right.
Basically what's going on.
Exactly.
That's hilarious. And, when you're in pain like that, I mean, that's a great example. When you're physically in pain, it does affect you mentally and emotionally.
Oh my gosh, you're not
right?
kidding.
You don't get good sleep.
No, and I'm grumpy.
And you're grumpy.
And it restricts what I can do as far as, this was quite so many years, a long time, quite a while back ago that I had trouble with the sciatica. But it was like, I wake up and I was having a hard time walking. I want to go hiking. A lot of things I didn't want to do because I just didn't feel like I could. And so I exercise while Robert's out walking the dog, and then he comes back. And after I finish my stretching, I want a little bit extra stretch. So I have him stretch me, and he loves doing that. Because it just gets to in that nook and cranny where I can't get. So it's a little bit extra little push in there.
Yep, I know. So number 4 for me is I give each day a purpose. And so, you have our Monday through Friday, you're working, you're doing your business. And I started instituting this probably last year, or maybe at the beginning of this year. I'm not sure when did I start doing that. It might have been sometime last year. But when I look at my calendar, I say I assign each day more of a purpose. Because especially like those high priority items, they don't provide an immediate return, but it helps build the business. But a lot of those things, like say, even just checking or doing outreach. So, a lot of business owners, small business owners, that the owner is also the primary, salesperson, the primary rainmaker and all that. And a lot of times we get so caught up in the day-to-day that we don't spend as much time in those things as we should. And obviously that brings in business, right? But it's amazing the things that would be a high priority item don't get as much service because we're too busy doing all the to-do lists and everything that comes at us on emails or whatever, that we do those things first because it's something we can check off our to-do list. And versus doing some of the higher priority items, like even, if I'm developing a course or piece of curriculum, or even like right now, I need to catch up on editing the book, the edits that got done on our book, Tandem, The Married Entrepreneur's Guide for Greater Work-Life Balance. We found some edits as we're recording the audio version. So I had the editor do that. So I need to kind of review that. So you kind of have to carve out some time to do that, right? So Mondays for me is my on the business activity days, like the stuff that's more long-term, vision planning, and then trying to do maybe some research or whatever, those things that are really for long-term investment into the business. Wednesday mornings is my outreach day, where I reach out to friends, family, clients, past clients, and potential future clients. And then, of course, my Friday mornings is my finance day, which I didn't do today because
that means you're making money on Fridays?
Yes,
I love it, honey.
Which means I'm checking over the financials and stuff to make sure there's something not falling through the cracks. And then But since I'm also preparing for our presentation at the Chamber Gala next Wednesday, and we're going to be traveling, so I need to prepare for that. But anyways, in general, Friday mornings is really catching up with the financials, making sure everything's in check, any adjustments that need to be made, right? So those are very important issues, but a lot of those things can get put away, or put to the side just because we're just get so caught up busy. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays are my meeting days. So whether it's potential discovery calls or clients, of course, any type of meeting, people just want to pick my brain. So I reserve those for Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays are more either paid client work, clients that are already paying us, they get to have Wednesdays and Fridays as well. And then just some of the other business priority items that we do. And so I give each day a purpose, basically. Otherwise, things can get all off track. Now, this stuff is not set in stone, as you kind of already heard, because Fridays today was a little off today, but in general, I stay on track so that I make sure we get those important things done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So giving each day a purpose, again, we talk about work-life balance, to get more done in business in a shorter period of time is prioritizing the things that are important and not push those things aside and backfill it with just, and fill your day or fill your calendar with just busy work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's number 4 for me.
You stole my idea, honey. Mine's kind of similar to yours. Mine is calendaring, which I got it from you, honey. Is like I like to say what I want to do for that day and put it down. And the harder or more challenging things are going to take more time. I like to do that in the morning because that's when I'm fresher. Because I find if it's not on the calendar, it just doesn't happen. And so I put the priorities down, like we're going to be gone, like you said, next week. So, okay, I need to look at my calendar. So what are some things that I need to get done this week since I'm going to be gone the following week? And that really helps me plan my day out because I thought, oh, I'm the creative. I don't really need to write all this stuff down. Well, then I think I can remember, and it doesn't happen. I hate to say it. So that's fine.
All right. And number 5, the last one for me, is dinner with my baby.
Oh.
So making sure we kind of, book in the day with each other. And that's also the signal for me to just turn it off. Right. And so no phones at the dinner table. We get to connect. Lately, we've been able to eat outside on the balcony and just kind of reconnect and then just kind of close off the business day, the work day. And so that's just the signal. And right before dinner, as you said earlier, honey, we go take the dog for a walk. And then we come back and then we have dinner. And so it's a nice transition period because otherwise, like if you don't have that, and again, you may have a business where you work, through dinner time because maybe you own a restaurant, right? But have something that transitions you off of business into personal time.
Well, and I like that because I can ask how your day is. I feel like that's a good time to ask you as opposed to at dinner and we're trying to get out of work mode.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives me that time and that space to do that.
Yeah. So the dinner time, I mean, for me, that's kind of the signal for the end of the workday, and then we can transition, and then there you go. So you have another one to add for you?
Yeah, read. I like to read 2 books a month because, readers are leaders, as they say.
Ooh, look at you, honey. Thrown out.
And I like to be growing. It's great for your mind. It's relaxing. You can learn all kinds of great tips and tricks and, make notes, highlight it, write it down. So it's stuff that you can implement, that you're not just reading and then you forget about it. But I love that. And it's all different kinds of genres that I like to read.
Yeah.
A lot of business, but, I'm open.
All right.
Books.
Good. That's good, honey. So yeah, those are our 5 daily habits to have greater work-life balance. And again, it might not exactly fit for you, but before you just poo-poo everything, first of all, number 1, define what it means for you and your spouse. I do believe whatever it is, definitely have a good morning routine and start in peace, not just rush into the day.
And so for me, that meant I have to go to bed earlier in order for me to wake up earlier. Otherwise, it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah. And
I have to be intentional.
And spend a moment, with your spouse, and then morning and evening time. And then, again, this doesn't have to be a lot of time, right? You said 5 minutes, and we've heard research around that is good. I mean, we want more, and we have more on weekends and stuff, but when it's intentional time, even 5 minutes is better than 4 hours of just running around doing errands with each other, right? So mornings are very important, how you start the day and even how you end the day with each other. And then I do believe still taking some kind of break every 90 minutes is going to be very important. And do your best to disconnect from electronics, at least once a day or once a week, right? And really just getting not just time management, but really prioritizing your day, your week, and putting in some of those things that are most important in your life, like having those date nights and even like our weekly meetings and that morning quiet time, right? So those things are blocked out basically in the calendar. And so basically really give each day a purpose and really make sure you prioritize the day with what matters most.
And I just want to say, if you're going to try to do a new daily habit, pick one and work with that, and then get that integrated and get that working well, and then add another to it. Don't try 5 at one time and overwhelm yourself. Start small and do what you can do.
Yeah, and to just set some milestones, every quarter or something to add another piece on, right? So so hopefully this helps you, get to at least spark some ideas of how to start creating some daily habits that'll help create greater work-life balance. And so essentially what you're doing is trying to create a sense of peace during the day, even as busy as things can get, but be able to work from a place of peace and make sure you and your spouse stay connected. And if you have kids, stay connected with the kids and make sure you prioritize those things. So
how about you guys emailing us your daily habits?
Yeah, info@powercouplesbydesign, info@powercouplesbydesign. And check out our website. Go to marriedentrepreneur.co and download the free gift for better work-life balance. And hopefully that'll give you some more ideas. So until next week, God bless. Thank you for listening to the Thriving in Tandem podcast. Please visit our website, marriedentrepreneur.co, for a variety of free resources to help your marriage and business succeed.
And feel free to leave us a review and share this episode with another married entrepreneur. That would mean so much to us.
See you next week.